Welcome to another Wardy's Waffle Farm update. Lots of little snippets in this video, but the main ones are we've been going around the perimeter of some of our wheat fields this week. Hello Nala. Looking at the wild oats and spraying rather some of the wild oats. We also have got problems with one of the floor dryers. We've got it blocked with oilseed rape, so we're just wondering how we can deal with that. I also attended the Bbro sugar beet event, which Bbro stands for the British Beet Research Organisation. Near me, lots of very useful trials work they do, so that's always very worthwhile for the crop we grow. And also, Crop weather stations have come to me this week asking if I'll be an ambassador for them, and for that honour they are giving me a free weather station to use and trial and promote. So we look at installing that, and we'll have regular updates on that going forward. So before we get on to the update and into this week, I just wanted to touch on the Agri Leadership Week that's been happening this last few days. For those of you who follow these videos and follow me in other countries, leadership is a huge thing in UK agriculture, and I did a leadership course, and actually that's where I met Rhonda in 2012, but I did a leadership course down at the Royal Agricultural University in Cirencester, and that was a 3-week course. We had 1 week at the college in Cirencester, we then had a week in Brussels, and then we had a week in London, and went to the Parliament and had some really good interesting insights from lots of influential people. And leadership is huge in agriculture, and I wouldn't have done the things I do today, such as start Forage Aid, the charity, without I had done the leadership course. And things like these courses give you the vision and the inspiration to challenge yourself and do things that you wouldn't normally do. So if I could really promote one thing or suggest one thing, if any of you are thinking along these lines, push yourself beyond boundaries that you would never ever dream of and go for some of these courses, because they really are fantastic and just bring you on in such an enormous leaps and bounds. Anyway, we've got Nala in the background. She's turning out great, as you'll see in some of these videos, but let's crack on with this update, and here we go. Ruben's just going around the outsides of some of the fields to spray for wild oats, but this field we're doing all of it. It was quite bad last year. You can't quite see from here, but up in the distance, up under those trees, you can just see the different colour of the crop up there. That is wild oats. The more here and all up this side. Just interesting, this corner's always wet. We put a drain in this corner a few years ago, but always wet in this corner, and the crop's just never as good. So this is why we put the sludge heaps inside the tram line, so we can go over it with the sprayer just like that, and then drop it down again. That's one of the reasons. The other reason is we can get right around the outside of the heap for to be able to loosen the compaction and after the spreaders have been in. This is the last sludge heap we've got that's been stockpiled. There's just a few more loads to come here, and then that's us all done. Probably about 8,000 tonnes we've had in stockpiles all around the farm, ready to spread after harvest. There we are, straight over the top of it, then lower the boom down, so it's in between the tram line as well, because there's a tram line up the field. We've just had another 2 loads of oilseed rape go out of store, and we've shed 5. This one on the corner here is nearly empty, and Tom's blowing the floor down with a compressor, sorry, with the leaf blower, and we're just going to bucket the rape, what's left, over the end into the next door shed. We've still got 1,400 tonnes of rape over the other side there, so rather than bucket it round, see if we can put it over the top. That's the beauty of having a 9-metre forklift. Yeah, that's better. So rather than wait for a lorry to come, which takes a long while shoveling this up, cleaning this up, thought we'd do it before the lorry comes. Just looking at this floor with a slight issue that some of the grills here are partly blocked. I know this last winter when we put the fans on, it didn't cool the heap as quick as it should do. If you look here, you can see we've got a lot of this rape dust is in here, and this floor is blocked, stopping the airflow, so we're going to have to somehow clean this out. We have had some wire brushes in the past were made to do it, but I'm just wondering whether we get an airline on it really close to do it, but it's dried in. And what's happened is when the Manitou, when we're loading, you'll see the wheels going round, we push up, we get a little bit of wheel slip when we're pushing up with the blade. And you'll just see now from this clip I'm putting in, the wheel slip then forces the rape into the grill. So you can see the wheels are turning around in that direction, and it forces the rape in there. When you compare to somewhere up here and on the edge, if we look at the edge here, you can see there definitely got some holes through there. You can see the black through there, so that's good there, but it's not very good in the doorway, so we're going to have to sort this out. A friend of mine, Brian here, who's helped us on oilseed rape for a few years, and he's had a little heart operation a few months ago, didn't you, Brian? So Brian just comes down and just makes sure we're all in order and make sure we're doing everything as we should be. Yeah, we're doing it properly. So but Brian's just lifted up this grill. We'll have a look at that. So what we've done, so if you can just turn that round, how would we get? You can just see there we go. You can see daylight through that grill, and that's what it should be like. But for sure, these other ones are blocked, so we're going to have to clear these out. But the trouble is, that end grill, the end grill there only just comes up. We've just used a spade to do it. The end grill, this end section just comes up to clean the floor out, because what we do, we put the fans on up there, we shut sections off inside the tunnel, and then we blow underneath here, and any debris that's under the floor will blow to the end, and then we can hoover them up. So all these sections, all the way along, every one of these, all the way along the shed there, all lift up to clean out under the floor. A few years ago, when we had a little issue, we made these wire brushes on the stem, so we could actually go along and wire brush the floor. But I think these grills are so badly blocked, it needs more than that. Apparently Tom said this doesn't happen very often, so I'm getting a record of it. That's Reuben in the corner. So that's the effect. It does make a difference. If I try this one here, I need two hands, but I'll try and there. Just cleaning it. I'm going to put the fans on and just see what difference it makes. But we're going to have to do a fair bit of this floor. So I'm in the air tunnel now, and it's that side there where the shed we're working on. This is how we blow air under the floor. So the fans are right up above there. Can't quite see it, but above there. So this whole air tunnel will fill with air and then goes under the floor here. And then of course that comes up right through the floor, vertically through the crop. So I've shut these off. I'm going to shut them all off along here and just leave one open on the end here to see if the air will force down, and then see if there's any air coming through the grill in the shed. What you do to drop that lid is just pull that like that, fold it down, and that's it. Drop it down like that, all the way along. And that stops the air going through into the floor. And the thing is, we have wheat that side normally, oilseed rape that side, so you can cool one and not the other, or dry one and not the other, and alter them, and then shut them up here depending on how full the shed is next door. So this is the last one. Just see under here, that's a bit of oilseed rape come through. That's under the floor now. And there's the grills, you can just see under there. So a little bit of oilseed rape under there. That's the noise is Reuben cleaning. Just going to open this one so the air can go down that one only, and then that will put the light off. That will be the airflow coming. So I've opened this flap behind there down at the bottom, so then it should let air through just this section from here up to there. And, well, Brian's just going to see whether that air's coming through there, those few that we've cleaned. You can see they're a lot cleaner, and see whether it's made any difference or not. Right, Brian, I'll go and put the fan on. This is the fan controller, so we'll just switch the mains on there. You can just hear it starting up now, up the top above us. And when it comes on, that green light will come on to say fan run. There we go. That's reached speed. Fan 2 is off at the minute. One fan will be enough. There's 50 horsepower per fan, and there's 2 up there. So we're going to have a look now and see if we can see if it's made any difference. Can you feel any? Definitely different. It says there is definitely a difference what those grills have cleaned, but there's the wind coming in the door from out here, so I'm going to shut that door and then see if that makes a difference. So here's the door controllers, and you can just see that door's now coming down. That's the door down, but I can't get in there now, so I'll just leave it 30 seconds and see what Brian says. So there is definitely blockages here. We've got the fan on, as you can hear. There's virtually nothing coming out that one. And the one I've cleaned, there is a little bit coming out. I can feel there is some, but nowhere near as much as the side here, where it doesn't get run on with the wheels. You can actually hear the air coming out there. And I can feel it on my hand. Yeah, definitely a lot more, so we really need to sort this out before we fill the shed up this harvest. Shows the force of the fan. The air pressure is lifting that up. So that's how we clean it out underneath. We lift that one up. You can see there, look. There's some rape coming out there. Look at the dust and all the muck coming out. I better go and shut the fan off, or else Tom, who's cleaning the shed out, won't thank me. Switch this fan off. There, that's done that. That's the air intake up there. So this is why we've got it at this end, and upstairs we've got the fans up there, because you can see this is where the sun is out this way. This is facing south, and the good air is out here. Our prevailing weather here comes from southwest, and this is where it comes from. And you can probably hear by the wind. Apologies, I haven't got my microphone at the minute. The external one with the muffler on, so there's a bit of wind noise, but that's where the wind comes from. You can see why we get good quality air up this end of the building, and that is why we have the fans up there and not in a separate building at the far end of the shed. Just also to note, you can see daylight through there. We've got what they call ventilated sheeting on the end and the side of the shed, which gets the airflow moving in here and stops the roof condensing. It's only a tin roof, it's not insulated, and this airflow in here is fantastic, which stops, keeps the crop in better condition. Just open 2 more lower down the shed. Just going to put the fan on. Just open 2 more lower down the shed and shut off the front one, just to make sure, to see if the grill's further back, to see whether they're blocked or not. So we've now got the fans on in the middle of the shed. Yeah, you can hear the airflow. These are all right here, but then as you get to the middle of the shed, yeah, that's not good there. It's blocked. Tom and Ruben are having to stand on the lids because there's that much force, it's blowing them up. Yeah, a little bit, yeah, coming through, but not a lot. So yeah, we're going to have to do the whole shed, I think, and spend a bit of time on the floor here. Ruben and Tom are just measuring the, washing the windows that came out of the house a bit ago. They're all various sizes, and we've got them on marketplace, is it eBay? No, Facebook Marketplace, and just selling these off. They're in good condition, really. And do somebody something. Finally managing to get this shed sorted and get everything on the new racking that we put in. All the spares and the Simba machinery and everything we've got here, and the horse spares. There's some Otico tyres to go on the free flow drill, some wild bird food that we mix with the wheat to go in. Here's all the horse spares that we've got that we're going to be selling, a lot of rams and lots of different horse parts for drills, tubes, bolts, diffusers for the air. We've got a whole box full of these A-shares and legs, if anybody's wanting any of those there. And then we're just busy clearing everything else out. I'm going to put all the windows, stack them at the back of the shed here and put a sheet over them, keep them clean, so that when people come and look at them, they're all ready. So yeah, I'm just going to be using that shortly for the haylage that we're going to do. So yeah, great to finally get this shed cleared out. It's Tuesday evening and I've just come to a Bbro, which is the British Beet Growers Research Organisation event near me in Lincoln. They do a huge amount of trials work for the sugar beet industry. You can see here all the different plots they're doing, and they've got, for us to look round, you can see the amount of cars we've got here and people that are here behind us. So we're going to go and have a look, and there's a lot of local farmers here, and we'll have a meet up and a chat with some of them and see what the latest research is in sugar beet.
To 69% of the crop could go yellow at the end of August. Now clearly that is of major concern, potentially similar to 2020, but what's different this year compared to where we were 2 years ago is that we had put in that derogation to health and safety and DEFRA, and although it was rejected by health and safety, DEFRA, because of the science-based approach we were using and using the models and the forecasting, enabled us to get it through those stages. You can remember the communications you got from British Sugar in January, and because of that mild weather, it certainly led to us triggering its application. So that meant when you were ordering your seed, then actually you did have that option to use Cruiser in 2022. Haven't used Cruiser, then if you get to threshold, and threshold is really important, then you can apply either of those actives. You can go to Peak, Finto, or Insist. We know that Insist from previous work here 2 years ago, when the crop was dripping in aphids, I've never seen so many, up to 40 per plant, crazy numbers. But Insist, a neonicotinoid, gives a rapid knockdown and really quick kill. Topiki works well, but it's a different mode of action. It's it paralyzes the stylet, but what it means is that you can often find the aphids for 2 or 3 days after. It stops them feeding and it stops them producing, but it may be day 7, 8, 9 before you really see a big impact. Now, what we have applied for is the emergency authorization for Movento, and if you need a third spray, hopefully Bbro, I'm hoping we get some good news for once, and we get also a third spray for that. It's imminent, and I'm hoping it's going to be this week, so keep an eye on the Bbro bulletins or the Twitter feed, and we'll be able to update on that. Don't be tempted with Hallmark. You can see here things happened quite quickly when we did these assessments. We had some big natural crashes with beneficials and everything else. The one thing about Hallmark is it takes out all the beneficials, and 90% of the aphids are resistant to the product. And as you can see there, when you compare that to the untreated, you knocked all those out and the aphids were resistant to it and just kept going, and it would have spread the virus further. Camo cropping guide we issued in the spring, and especially if you've been growing without Cruiser, you may have considered putting in some cereal cover strips. So in 2020, we saw some growers who had put some cover strips of cereals in, mainly to stop windblow, had lower expression of virus symptoms. This was confirmed by our lab testing and our drone imagery, the image here on the guide does show quite clearly some greener strips. Now, unfortunately, the yield wasn't elevated, though, because of that early competition of the barley with the beet.
Ratings. And then also think about canopy growth, and this is really probably coming back to look at some of the varieties, how they sustain their canopies late into the autumn. You can come and have a look at the sites here, and we hope you will come back in July, but probably September, and you'll see some big differences in the canopy. But again, look on your own farm, which ones sustain the better canopy, because the varieties with the bigger canopies tend to be the better sugar producers over winter. And certainly vigorous, and of course if we should get a frost, if we ever get a frost again, they'll offer you some frost protection as well. Is there another retail variety on the list?
This is the variety that we have. We've got it all one variety.
But what I would say is, whilst it's a variety which tends to produce a big canopy with big leaves, which is great for spreading it, it does have the lowest sugar content of the fruit. So remember what I said, not an obvious food, mustn't go in early. Interestingly enough, it's got a very good Sarcosperous score, which is an interesting trait, but there is a second generation of these varieties coming which will have better yield performance and hopefully better yield. And you know, take hat off to KWS for bringing a variety forward. It's not been widely grown, but as I say, they are growing phenomenally quickly now. And we know when sugar beet down into it, we know at this stage that they need all the help they can. Our target is to get them to the 12 leaf stage as quickly as possible. So we want these crops to double in size, 6 leaf stage now. By doing that now, obviously key elements, hopefully they will have their nitrogen and humidity, which is very unlike some of your other crops. So we must make sure there's enough nitrogen available to it early on. Need lots of phosphate. Most of our soils are high in phosphate as well. Sometimes having some fresh available phosphate is good. I quite like DAP when you can get it and it's a reasonable price, but it does, because it gives you a lot of fresh available phosphate. And actually on one of our sites last week, where we actually top dressed with DAP, you can begin to see the crop just beginning to perk up a little bit more, and I think that's the phosphate effect. We can do it when we're not busy. They need it to build their canopies. So manganese is essential for building what we call the chloroplasts. These are the structures which contain the chlorophyll. They're quite an essential element to build that. We need these crops to get as green and put as much leaf area on as possible. Magnesium, of course, I'm talking about micronutrients, which we know for the science are important for these physiological processes. Make sure we get them on the crop now to drive this crop. And hopefully that will help. When ammonium nitrate, DAP, was probably less than a few £100 a tonne, that was worth having. But when the price started creeping up, that is not an economic return, which is why we advise many growers actually to think about trimming back nitrogen, maybe about 15 to 20% on a mineral soil, from 120 to around 100. And the conversations I've been having with growers, that many have done that. Have you done that?
Just looking at herbicide control now, and that is the untreated. You can just see with sugar beet, because of the wide rows, how the broadleaf weeds really will swamp the crop and take over. And then these are different treatments. Not quite as bad. And then a bit better still. And then moving along to these, look how clean these plots are. You've got all sorts of different treatments all over there. That's obviously an untreated. Fantastic, all this trials work that goes on for us. Just looking at these plots that haven't had a herbicide compared to this one that's had a really good belt and braces one, you can just see how it has affected crop growth when you get down. That, compared to that, it has knocked the crop. So, something happening this morning on the farm. I'm with Phoebe from Crop Weather Stations, and we're about to put a weather station up, but this is a bit different to normal weather stations, the situation. So what's happening here with Phoebe?
So we were looking for an ambassador for the East Midlands area, and we thought Andrew would be the perfect person to try out the weather station and give us some feedback. So
what we're doing here is we'll just have a look at the two boxes, and then we'll go through when we get them installed. We're going to erect them up now, aren't we? How long will that take?
5 minutes. It's quite simple, quick and easy, and then you've obviously got the app that we'll go through once you've got the stations up.
Brilliant. And we've also got Frankie and Nala having a bit of a scrap. So the first bit to put in is the centre pole. We've got a little bit of an auger on the bottom, so that's going to go in the ground, and we've got to screw that in. How far, Phoebe? About 40 centimetres?
Yes, so it should be about 40 centimetres high by the time we're finished with it in the ground.
Brilliant. So that's got the centre stem in the ground, and then the supporting legs next to it. Right, Phoebe, we've now got the actual unit to go on the top. So that's got this weather station part up. Phoebe's just put the little wire prongs on the top to stop birds having a bath in it and upsetting the readings. And then we've just put this one up, this tripod. What's this for? So, Phoebe, this is for... Ah, right, so there we go. So this one goes on this tripod there, and that just measures the wind.
Yes, wind speed and direction.
Brilliant. Next.
Okay, so to get the most accurate readings, you need to use your compass, which is there, to point the antennae north. So you need to find where north is, and then
turn that round.
Yes, that's right.
Face north like that, which is about there. Okay.
Perfect, and then that is your wind crop all set up.
That's right. So that, and then the direction there, that's saying now then, if that's north, that's south, sort of southwest. That means that's the direction the wind's coming from.
Yes, that's right.
Right, brilliant. So I'll just tighten these up. So that's the weather stations all installed and finished. So great open location. So it'll be able to record the right wind speed and direction for spraying, which is great. So we'll see how we get on. So thank you, Crop. So we're down in the bottom corner of the field near the direct drilling plots, which is there. Tom's just going around the outside of the field spraying a bit of glyphosate just around there to control the broadleaf weeds on the edge, and backed a bit too close into the dike with the Polaris. But so he's obviously heading down that way, down to do the spray the very edge of the margin down there. And so we need to get some straps on, which I've got, and it won't take a lot of pulling out. We've got both straps on the front there. And off that. Easy. Just bent that guard there, but I think looking at everything else, it's untouched. That was curved there, that vertical bar. Just got another lorry coming for some oilseed rape. We've got the other shed emptied, as you've just seen. So this is store 3. This shed is still quite a lot in it. Judging by the sound of that door, we actually need this greasing. It does. We need to grease this runner where the door goes into. It'll make it a lot easier. But yeah, there's still a lot of rape in this shed. We had a bit of an issue there. You can see that top one has bent over. The weight of the motor on the top, we didn't take it off soon enough, has curved it over. But anyway, we'll get this. That'll do. We'll get this lorry loaded, and that'll be another 29 tonnes out the way. Value of this 29 tonnes there is probably about £27,000 beyond that lorry when it's finished, when it leaves this farm. Unfortunately, that 27,000 will not go into our bank account. It will go to ADM. We get paid £10 a tonne at the minute for storing it, which is nowhere near enough, which we're in discussion about that at the minute. Just interesting loading. Everybody does it differently, and I load the back of the lorry first, put with oilseed rape, put 6 buckets in the back, and then 5 in the front, and then 2 in the finish off with a couple in the middle. But it depends if the lorry's what they call step frame or whether it's sloping. This one's sloping. So you can see there it's one long slope all the way along, but it is shallower at the front than the back, so that's why I put more in the back. And also the weigher underneath there is at the front, so you can see that when you're tipping the last bit in. And that's what we do. Also, another thing I do is I leave the boom out so far. You can just see there that the boom is out there on the sections, 3-stage boom. So we leave that out. I do anyway. And the Manitou copes with the weight. There's about 2.2 tons of rape in the bucket. I just leave it out and don't move the boom in and out. Some people, when they load, they move the boom in and out, but I can't really see the point. It just wears the boom pads, I think. But anyway, let me know how you all load. Everybody has a different way, or you might have a unique way of doing it. Always interesting to know. So leaving the boom out means that when I tip the bucket in, you can't see it now, and I'm on, obviously got the phone on a holder. When I tip the bucket, I've got to keep driving forward so the wheels nearly touch the lorry, and I just prefer doing that than sliding the boom in and out. Just leave it set in one position. That's it. This is the last bucket full of this load. I think it might need a bit more. I'm not quite sure what it needs, so we'll just give this one a try. He wants half a ton more, so it's just asked me if I'll put it at the back. So it's just stood near the weigher now, so I need to just be careful, otherwise I'll put too much on. He just wonders whether it might be too much. We'll see. If it is, we'll just have to put the bucket under the grain hatch at the back and just take a bit off. He said the weigher's not accurate, it's messing about as well. That's him on the weigh bridge. I'll just have a look inside, see what it says. So that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please click like and subscribe, and the bell sound to alert you for when I post any videos, which I think the next one's going to be midweek again. So until then, from Nala and myself, cheerio.